So yeah, it's pretty amazing what they're able to pack into such a small form factor when it comes to these new mini gaming PCs. This is a true 1440p AAA gaming machine. What's going on, everybody? It's ETA Prime back here again. Today we're going to be taking a look at the brand new AtomMan G7 Ti mini gaming PC. And some of you out there might not be familiar with the brand AtomMan. Don't worry, this is actually Minisforum. This is their sister brand, and I think what they're trying to do is just kind of move all of their gaming stuff over to the AtomMan branding. And if you've been into these mini PCs for a little while now, you might recognize this design from Minisforum, but we've got a total upgrade internally and externally with this unit here. The older ones that were released, I'd say about a year ago, were coming to us from the Minisforum Nook line. So they had the Nook 5 and the Nook 7. And even then, the CPUs they used were a bit dated, but don't get me wrong, those were some really good mini PCs. But now, with the new AtomMan G7 Ti, we've got 24 cores, 32 threads, and an RTX GPU that'll boost up to 140 watts. This PC is meant to stand vertically, and inside of the box, what we're going to get here is our stand. It does attach to the bottom of the unit with 2 screws, plus we get a 280 watt power supply. The cooling system on this has been totally revamped from their Nook series, and we will do a teardown. I want to show you this because the heat pipes in this thing are absolutely massive. Installation of the stand is super easy. It's just going to sit right on the bottom. 2 screws, just make sure you got them nice and tight, and then we can stand this thing up. As you can see up front, we've got some RGB, and this is fully addressable from software. We've also got our power button and our mode button. So the mode button is really great. You can also do this from software, but it's good to have that hard button up front. Office mode, total wattage on this, 140 watts, and that's divided between the CPU and the GPU. Game mode, up to 180, but I'm pretty sure in real world applications, we will be pulling more than that because the GPU itself can do up to 140 watts in this thing. When it comes to I/O, over on the left-hand side, we've got the rear of the unit, power input, USB Type-C, and this will support display out, full-size HDMI 2.1 port, full-size USB 3.2, and a gigabit Ethernet port. Now, it would have been nice if they added 2.5 gigabit Ethernet, but instead they went with the gig port and Wi-Fi 7, so it's a nice little trade-off there. On the right-hand side, we've got the front of the unit, power button, mode switch button, 2 full-size USB 3.2 ports, full-size SD card reader, and a 3.5mm audio jack. In just a second, we will move over to the teardown, but I did want to give you a look at the specs just to give you an idea of why they had to add such an awesome cooling system to this. And that's because the new AtomMan G7 Ti is powered by the Intel Core i7-14900Hx. 24 cores, 32 threads, 8 performance cores up to 5.8 GHz, and 16 efficiency cores up to 4.1. With the unit we're taking a look at in this video, I've got 32 gigabytes of DDR5 running at 5600 MHz in dual channel, but this will support up to 96 gigs of SODIMM RAM. The GPU is covered by an Nvidia GeForce RTX 4070. Of course, it is a laptop variant, but we've got 8 gigs of GDDR6 VRAM, and this will boost up to 140 watts. And I'll tell you, it will run at 140 watts throughout without thermal throttling. We've also got 2 M.2 SSDs we can add to this unit. I've got a 1 terabyte drive installed here. It's got Wi-Fi 7, Bluetooth 5.4, and I'm running Windows 11 on this machine. Pulling the side cover off is actually pretty simple. There's 3 screws on the bottom, and then it's just got a little sliding system. So it'll come right off, and as you can see, we've got a massive heat pipe system in here with a dual fan setup. They're calling this cooler their Cold Wave Pro system, and if there's one thing that I can say about Minisforum, they do have the best coolers when it comes to mini PCs, hands down on the market. I've done a lot of testing. Their coolers are top-notch, especially with their newer units. Pro system here, they're claiming that this will handle 180 watts of power without thermal throttling, and yeah, I've done some testing so far. It can definitely handle what we've got here. Dual SODIMM DDR5 up to 5600 MHz, and remember, we can add up to 96 gigs. We've got 2 M.2 slots here. They're actually stacked on top of each other. I've got a 1 terabyte drive in here, but you can always add another one. So first things first, brand new BIOS here, and I really hope to see this more often in Minisforum PCs. Of course, this is their sister brand, AtomMan, but I think we're going to see this over there also if they keep producing gaming PCs on that brand side. Update BIOS, we've got an advanced mode here. From the advanced mode, we've got access to basically everything here. CPU configuration, efficient core information, performance core information. Unfortunately, we cannot disable these efficient and performance with this unit here, but there's still a lot that we can change. We've got trusted computing, USB configuration, network stack configuration, NVMe configuration. Chipset, VMD technology is disabled right now. Auto power on support. A lot of people love seeing this feature just in case they get a power outage or something like that. The PC will boot right back up. Secure boot, and of course, if you don't want to mess around with advanced mode with this PC, we've got that easy mode, but we've also got built-in software to allow us to control the performance from within Windows. Plus, we've got that button up front that'll give us 2 different power profiles. Jumping right into Windows, I wanted to talk about their control center. This can be downloaded from their website, and with this PC, we've got 2 different modes, work, game. Obviously, when gaming, you're going to put it in the game mode. It's going to up the performance on this unit. But remember, we've got that physical mode button on the unit itself, and this is basically the same settings here, just working through software. Lighting effects, fully controllable RGB up front, few different modes, or you can go solid color. Settings, wind key disable, quick cooling. This will take the fans up to 100%, and at 100%, this thing can get loud, but I've been doing a lot of testing so far, even in game mode. This is a really quiet system. We took a look at the heat pipes and the fans they use here. They do not need to spin up at 100% to keep this thing nice and chilly. Graphics card mode, we're in discrete mode right now. But yeah, between work and game is really where it's going to be at for a lot of people. We're going to leave it in work mode, and as you can see, we've got that 14900HX, 32 gigs of DDR5 at 5600, and that RTX 4070, 8 gigs of VRAM. I've seen this boost up to 140 watts so far. And to give you a look at the TDP, remember, we're in work mode. This, even in work mode, does boost up to 85 watts, but then comes down. We've got a continuous 54 watts across the board. But as soon as I enable game mode, you'll see it jump right back up. Actually, even a bit higher, up to 90 watts. Here's our temp over here. So we are stressing out all of the cores in this CPU. Still not hearing this thing. Fans spinning up just a bit, but we're putting a real big load on this CPU right now. The next thing I wanted to show you here was that GPU power, or TGP. Back to work mode right now, up to 105 watts. Game mode, this RTX 4070 will boost up to 140 in this thing. So yeah, we're getting some pretty good clocks here. So far, this thing's been working really well. I've updated all the drivers, and I haven't run into any weird glitches or anything like that, even with their software. So for all of my testing in this video, we are going to be in game mode. I want to get the maximum performance out of this. And the first thing we're going to take a look at are some benchmarks. Geekbench 6, looking great here. Single core, 2,831. Multi, 17,454. I also ran Cinebench R24. With this, we saw a multi-core score of 1,476, definitely getting up there, and it's crazy that the Apple M1 Ultra is still ahead on this benchmark. I mean, I gotta give it to them. For being based on ARM, that's a great performing CPU. Moving over to some GPU benchmarks, we've got 3D Mark Steel Nomad, 2,919. Firestrike coming in with a 27,819. And finally, TimeSpy with a 13,724. So far, these synthetic benchmarks are really impressive, but now it's time to test out some 1440p AAA gaming on this machine. Here's Cyberpunk 2077 1440p Ray Tracing Ultra preset. No DLSS, so I've disabled it completely, but I am using Nvidia's FrameGen technology. Something I personally love using. Instead of scaling that image down, have a little bit of FrameGen going. Still looks super crisp at 1440p. We can gain a ton of performance. And if you need a little more out of it, which I don't really see why, it's running really well here, getting an average of 87 FPS, you can always add a little bit of DLSS. Next thing I tested here was Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 at 1440p with no DLSS. So we're at 100% resolution scale, 1440 right there, ultra settings, average of 122. Our 1% load did drop under 60 right there at 57. But while going through the benchmark, it's something that I would never notice. I'm trying to figure out why there's so many bears in this game. I've been mauled by more bears than I have found different opponents to face along my way playing through this. And I never really got a chance to play this on PS4, so as soon as it launched for PC, definitely jumped into it. One of my favorite games right now, 1440p, very high, no DLSS, but we are using the built-in FrameGen. getting an average of 81 FPS, and it does look super good. This is one of those games that, in my opinion, when you start adding DLSS or FSR, no matter what resolution you're at, you can really tell that it starts to degrade those graphics. Hogwarts Legacy 1440p Ultra with DLSS set to quality. This is one of those weird games. Sometimes I'll jump in here, don't need any DLSS. Sometimes it kind of drops right under 60. And we could probably stand to turn DLSS to balance. But overall, we did get an average of 76 FPS. Forza Horizon 5, 1440p Ultra, no DLSS. I know this system can run this game at 4K Ultra settings at around 81 FPS on average, but I was plugged into a 1440p monitor. And speaking of 4K, you want to go with some older stuff, Skyrim, Fallout 4, games like that, 4K maxed out all day long with this little system. Horizon Zero Dawn 1440p Ultra, no DLSS, average of 84 FPS. Now it does kind of change up when you move over to Horizon Forbidden West. With that, we do need to enable some frame gen, but it is fully playable once you get it set up correctly. It's just a harder game to run. Slider bar all the way over, but we are using DLSS. I've got it set to quality. Seeing an average of 77 FPS across the board, and man, this game does look really good. Again, I really don't like adding any kind of resolution scale, but with all of this stuff that we saw, the stuff that I didn't use DLSS with, if you don't mind enabling it, setting it all to balance is just gonna jump us up even more. Before I wrap this video up, a couple things I want to talk about here. CPU and GPU temps plus total system power consumption. Average gaming CPU temps in game mode, 69 degrees Celsius. Average GPU temps, 64 degrees Celsius. While running Cinebench R24, we did hit 92 degrees Celsius, but we still got a really good score there. That's what the thermal throttle set at, and I mean, we've got 24 cores and 32 threads pumping out in this thing. I knew it'd get hot maxing it out like that. Maximum GPU temperature I saw was only 68 degrees Celsius. And when it comes to overall system power consumption, now this is from the wall. I've got this plugged into a kilowatt meter through all of my testing. At idle, this is pulling 26 watts. Average 1440p gaming, 182 watts. And the maximum that I could get this to hit while maxing out all 24 cores, 32 threads, and that RTX 4070, 241 watts from the wall. And remember, this does come included with a 280 watt power supply, so we're fine over there, but that's a real extreme test. While using this as an everyday PC or gaming, you're never going to see this kind of power consumption. I'm really impressed with the performance and thermals of the new AtomMan G7 Ti. It is a true 1440p gaming machine, small form factor. Of course, it's a lot taller than some of the other ones, but we've got that super thin profile. This can basically go anywhere on your desk. It would be nice if you could also set this horizontally, but it's really made to sit in that vertical stand, and overall, I do like the look of this machine. If you're interested in learning a little more about the new G7 Ti, I'll leave some links in the description, and if there's anything else you want to see running on this, just let me know in the comments below. But that's going to wrap it up for our first look, and like always, thanks for watching.